Sometimes things end up being misleading on purpose, and sometimes it's purely accidental. And then sometimes you end up not caring because the end results are really good. This may be one of those times. So this week, we're taking a look at Krishna Leerbird Water Green. Now, I've noticed a trend where Krishna inks tend to be cart fillers for me, and this one was no different. To keep my cart closer to an even number, the cost of this 30ml bottle hit just the right price, with the $6 bottle putting me right at the $30 mark. So, in it went. Now, maybe it was just the price, or maybe it's because it had waterproof in the name, but either way, it felt like a good fit. Unlike the normal 20ml bottles, this subline of Krishna inks comes in a 30ml bottle that for some reason made me think of the weird alien probe thing from Star Trek IV. The biggest difference here is that we won't be needing any whales or nuclear vessels to enjoy this ink. So diving into the color, this is where it gets interesting. The ink is called Water Green, and the color on the cap should be an indication of where we're going to be going. But it takes a lot for us to get there. Normally, I'm hit or miss when it comes to grabbing a shot of the coloring card, but we really need it this time. The water green is definitely matching up, and I like what I'm seeing in person. But moving on to the notebook, it starts making you wonder what's going on. Just like in the coloring, the darkest parts definitely have some green to them, and it definitely kind of has a water look to it. But look at these lighter parts. The light and midtones are more of a winter blue than anything else. In fact, those colors remind me more of Lake Michigan winter from Papier Plume than anything else I've tried. So we may have to do a side-by-side at some point to see if I'm onto something there. Now with water green, I do like what I'm seeing out of the nib. In this case, our nib is the broad nib in my 2019 Pilot Vanishing Point. On the first pass, the ink is definitely wet enough that it trends towards the darker midtones, but we really don't see the green until like the fourth layer pass that we do. And at this point, we're also getting a good amount of bleed through the paper, so that's something that you're going to have to consider. One area where this Krishna ink really excels is the dry time. I've yet to see an ink that dries instantaneously, so this is probably the last time I'm going to do the 1 second test. But with what I saw at 5 seconds, I really thought I was going to need to do like a 30 or a 45 second test to get completely dry. But here we are, completely dry out of a broad nib by 15 seconds. And that actually kind of had me slightly perplexed, because when I'm writing with this ink, it behaves very nice, it's extremely well lubricated, and with it not giving me any hard start issues, and how it comes out looking on the paper, it really looks like a wet ink. So the dry time is really impressive with those two considerations. Now take a look at what I was saying with the overall color. It is coming out far more blue than green, and I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing, I'm just saying it's a little misleading. And to be fair, even with that little bit of misleading issue, this is actually turning into one of my favorite examples of a winter blue, just not a water green. Speaking of which, let's see what happens when water green meets water clear. Now, this is not a bad result, but it's also not Noodler's level waterproof. I do like that, unlike most of the other water-resistant inks, we do retain the original color here, and the recoverability is definitely there. So for a $6 bottle of ink, this is a pretty good steal. A good winter blue is hard to get right, and I think that water green does that very well on the light and mid tones. The dry time is on point, and the lubrication and wetness are really good. My only gripe is the name. Most people who write don't write by literally dumping their ink onto the paper. If you write that way, let me know. I would love to see that in person. But for the rest of us, Krishna made a great teal blue ink. So thank you for watching. Check the links below for how you can follow and support the channel, or buy the stationery that was featured in this video. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next week.